right, guys. Well, welcome back to the Sweat and Griffee Law Pod. We second episode here, live from the Salt River Studios here at the Sweat and Griffee Law Firm, 502-496-6996. So
the Salt River Studios, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I like that. We workshop that. So first things first, including the new Salt River Studios, as we're calling it. Great reaction to the last pod, fellas. We had a great pod. Really enjoyed making it, and we've got some good reception, some YouTube views, some listens on Spotify and wherever else you get podcasts. We did. I know Hayden and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the feedback we got. We did get a couple name recommendations and theme song recommendations.
Oh yeah.
So the first thing, Kai, our wonderful paralegal that works here at the Sweat Griffee Law Firm, she, her and her mom, while listening to the pod, they came up with the name Bros in Law or Brothers in Law.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I thought that was pretty. Yeah, I thought that was good.
Bros in Law. Yeah.
Now the only thing, for that good Google SEO, I know we like the Sweat Griffee Law Pod, so people get to click on our website and see what we
nice
do.
to tie it all in. Yeah,
but
he's thinking SEO. He's easy.
Bros in Law is pretty good too. So
that's pretty good.
We appreciated that suggestion. Yeah, very catchy. So we were excited about that. I don't think did we get any other name recommendations?
It's the only one I heard.
Yeah.
You're telling me I have to remake the logo?
I think we'll roll what we got, but informally, Bros in Law is
Bros in Law.
It's a great name. Yeah. It's a great name. So then we got sent some song suggestions from DCMA approved songs. We'll send you guys offline. So we'll decide maybe here in the near future, and I think we'll have a new theme song from some of the fans out there.
Fancy.
So.
Going in with the theme of the river too.
Yeah. It's
river might
really?
Yeah,
it has to do with the river.
Yeah, it sure does. So we're all over it, but we do appreciate everybody that listened and tuned in. So got a couple texts from folks around the state that listened to us. So we thought that was pretty cool.
People correcting our history.
Shout out to Alan. We appreciate you for the I was pretty off on the Governor Goebel's background, so I appreciate that. I need to study up a little bit.
I saw one about Henry Clay.
Yeah,
they were fighting in duels. It was his brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were a little off, but we'll try.
It's his brother Harvey Clay. I don't know who's his brother. I don't know.
Yeah. Remember right.
We got the juices flowing though. We got people thinking.
That's right. We got people thinking. We got people studying their Kentucky history, and we hope that even though I was wildly off on some of my Kentucky history, if you Googled it and you found the truth, we hope that's what you did.
Maybe somebody learned something from our ignorance.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
That's right. So, but we were excited about that. Today, Hayden, I thought we would start off with the law portion of the podcast. You're talking a little bit about personal injury. Could you tell us a little bit, how did you start doing personal injury law?
Yeah, so personal injury, I think, let's start there. I know that's kind of a phrase that if you're not in the law, you may not think about, well, what is personal injury? Well, the most common personal injury case is a car accident. So that's where, if you're hurt in a car accident because of the negligence of another driver, you can be entitled to a recovery for your injuries. And it's really important that you have representation in those cases because insurance companies are not your friend. I think it's a really tough reality everybody has to accept is that insurance is a business and you have to pay it every month and you pay for that every year. And then when you get hurt in an accident, it's there for you to make a recovery. But the insurance company's not. They're in the business of fighting claims and not paying claims, which is kind of a sickening thing when you think about.
They're trying to make money too. They got to make return on investment.
Exactly. So they like selling insurance, but they don't like paying claims. And it's important. They really will try to settle quickly and take advantage of unrepresented people. And it's really crucial that when you're hurt in an accident that you get with a lawyer quickly so that we can advise you on the do's and don'ts and make sure that you're getting the proper treatment and that you don't want to settle a personal injury case before you've been made whole, not only financially, but also you want to make as best of a recovery as you can. So I've really done that ever since I started practicing law. I was fortunate that when there's a attorney in Louisville named Zach Berry who I had met through high school basketball, and he's an excellent personal injury attorney, and that's who really taught me right from the jump of how to do it the right way. I also think it's important. You're going to see a lot of, all across Kentucky, you'll see billboards all up and down the interstates, and these ads about personal injury, and they're all about, hey, if you don't have to pay anything, and you only get paid if we win. You only have to pay if we win. And I think it can be somewhat misleading. That I think a lot of people may think that you want a brand like that to represent you, but really a lot of those firms are large. The guy that's on the billboard is not who you're going to be talking to.
Right.
They're in the business of taking in as many as they can. If they don't like your case, they'll kick it out. And a lot of times it's going to be a younger associate who may not even be familiar with the area that the accident happened working your case. So, here at Sweat and Griffee, we really know our area well. We know the Louisville area well. We know all the surrounding counties, from Hardin, Bullitt, Spencer, Louisville. We're familiar with the courtrooms. We actually do practice in those courtrooms. And we're familiar with the EMS and the physicians and the police officers, and all that's really critical to work in a personal injury case. And that's where I think we really can give local people a big advantage against these big insurance companies. And if we think it's in a client's best interest, there is even instances where we continue to work with attorneys in Louisville to bring the most value to the client. We're not trying to rush through that process. So that's kind of how I got into it and what it looks like.
Yeah, and that was something. So when we formed up here at the law firm a couple of years ago, so I in law school, I didn't really know a lot about personal injury law outside of the billboards you see on 65 and when you're driving to Florida or wherever you go. Yeah, right. And
sorry, that's advertising. We don't.
Sure,
No
right.
free ads.
Yeah, no free ads. I didn't know a ton about it, and I knew Hayden had gotten some really good experience and had worked some pretty complex injury cases that he had told me about, some really devastating dog bites, car accidents. So I didn't know what that would look like. And when we got in, we immediately picked back up with that, started working some cases, even some wrongful deaths. When somebody has died due to the negligence of another, your claim doesn't end when you pass. And as probate lawyers, which is our primary practice area, we can be a real benefit to a family in those situations. So it was something that really, though, I didn't know anything about. And we started working these cases, and I tell you, it's really my favorite area of the law I think that we have, because at the end of the day, you're really helping somebody go up against oftentimes large insurance companies or a large business, or and you're helping a family that has been injured or devastated by the loss of a loved one recover. You can never make that person whole again, right? If somebody's been in a horrible accident or somebody has passed, you can never make them whole again. But to get them that recovery is really impactful. It's some of the coolest moments we have in here. And what we pride ourselves on, and that's not a knock at the big guys. I'm sure they've got some great attorneys there, but we pride ourselves, just like if we were doing a will or a closing, on being personable, actually caring about what you've got going on, and being able to be easy to reach. And so our personal injury clients can pick up the phone and call us, and like Hayden said, they can talk to one of us about what's going on, where their case is at, and that's something we're really proud of and bring value to. So those cases can take a long time to play out, and so we a lot of times you want to know where you're at, what's going on,
right?
And we're happy to do that, and I think that brings a lot of value. Like Hayden said, we do in surrounding areas. We've got cases in Louisville, Nelson County, Meade County, all over. But our home here in Bullitt County, of course, we've got 65, and you got 44. And I'll probably mention 44 every podcast, because we're especially in the legislature, we're trying to expand 44. We've got money to expand.
Get that thing wide.
We got to get, we've got to. And but we all know that's right now, it's a dangerous road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality.
Yeah.
And so you've got people that are getting seriously injured in accidents almost every day on one of those intersections here in the county. And
44 Hill gets slick when it rains, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. I mean, it
Better
is.
than
It's
it used to be, right?
legitimately scary.
It used to be worse than it.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
They're doing
improved
some
a
road
little
work
bit.
up there.
They are.
They're doing something. Yeah.
They are. So we've got some road work going. We've got some improvements being made, but it's a dangerous area to drive. Period. 65's the same way. So if we can help somebody in our own county that's been injured and they don't have to feel like they got to go to Louisville or go to Lexington or wherever, they can come right here on Buckman Street in the Salt River Studios, and we can help them. We can help them recover. That's what we.
This is where you'll probably meet with them. You guys.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In the flesh.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, like, a lot of times when you go, like, something happens like that, and you're going through either an injury or a death or something like that. Imagine how much that can be to have to, like, deal with insurance companies, to have to deal with all these people. Like, you're going through a grieving process or a healing process or something, and you're that's where you guys can really come in.
Yeah, and that's what when we talk probate too. It's the same thing on the probate side. Our biggest value to somebody is the stress relief and the relief of anxiety. That, hey, we can help you with this and alleviate some of these courtroom and paperwork stressors. Right. When you've dealt with the loss of a loved one or an injury or a wrongful death action, what you don't want is you don't want open-ended questions. You don't want to worry about, is this being done right? And that's where we can bring benefit to people. And we enjoy that personal injury work. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I think you'll find in the legal field that there's a lot of offices that don't put a big emphasis on that they'll sign you up and then kind of put you on the back burner. But just like you mentioned, I mean, it really is a trying time, and peace of mind's important. Being able to get a hold of your counsel is important, and having counsel that will take the time to assure you and show you that everything is being handled correctly. Yeah. So we're always happy to do that. We've had a lot of success with it. And I really do feel strongly that we're very good at it, and you're going to be better off with local counsel who's familiar with the courtrooms, familiar with the local agencies, than hiring somebody off of a billboard who you're not going to speak to. Right. So we really feel good about that. And like I said, I think the thing about me and Peyton too is we're also, if we feel like, like I said, I mentioned Zach is an attorney we've worked with previously, who's an excellent attorney in Louisville. If it's a case we think he would add value, then we'll share our fee with him, which at no cost to the client. Yeah. We're out for the biggest recovery, and like Peyton's for the client. We really believe in. We want to send home a happy client I've always believed in, for many years I practiced without any advertising, just the snowball effect of,
oh, really?
Yeah, just taking good care of somebody and then they're going to tell their people. Yeah. So we feel strongly about that, even if that means that we take less money, walk away with less. That's totally fine for us. We'd much rather have a happy client that's going to go out and tell everybody that it went well and they were well taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you got somebody going out there telling all their friends how good you guys are, you're going to get more.
Sure. That's where you're real, I do want to say though, we are not anti-billboard.
I was about to say, he keeps talking about these billboards. I was like, what happens if you guys get a billboard? Well, you're going to have to take back some words here.
The good news is our good friend, Carlisle Rasner, who does a lot in the advertising space, has been really good to us, and does the sheriff's calendars that you see in those things.
Oh, okay,
we do have a billboard going up.
Oh, really?
Soon. You can see when you drive by, we've got a sign up over there, but we will have basically a welcome. It's going to be Welcome to Buckman Street, and you'll get to see our.
That's when everything changes, folks. You won't see them no more.
I'm talking about 10 billboards more. No.
Yeah.
As soon as that billboard goes up, you'll call them. You won't be able to get a hold of them.
Now you just need a really catchy commercial.
Yeah. We're not to the commercial space yet, but we do like the billboard.
Can make a rap song.
Yeah.
Called the Bros-in-Law.
Yeah, you never know.
Rebrand.
Yeah.
Pod takes priority over those, though.
Yeah, the pod is it. Listen, if we keep this pod going, I mean, this could be a full-time gig here pretty soon. So we appreciate it. But yeah, so that was we just wanted to touch a little bit about on that. I know we had mentioned it last time. That's something we do, but we're proud of the personal injury practice we've been building and excited about it. So. I did want to briefly touch just a brief legislative update just to let people know what's going on in their community. Been in Frankfort a couple times since the last pod. Everything going smooth, getting ready for the short session. So it's about a 30-day session coming up here in January. We've had economic development, transportation, judiciary meetings since the last podcast. It's been good. We're hearing from a lot of it is testimony from the cabinet, so the labor cabinet or whoever, about workforce development initiatives and things like that. And I won't drag the audience through everything that's been going on up there. But I can say, there's good folks working. I think there's some good bills that'll be filed this session. I'm excited about that. Had the opportunity. The big thing I did want to mention, a letter went out for Hillview's own zip code. So that is something that we've been working really hard on. I've actually got the Mayor Edens, who's an excellent mayor in Hillview. He had sent, they dug around, they found all the letters that had been sent since like 1985 to try to get Hillview their own zip code.
Oh, wow.
I think now, hopefully this is the closest we've been because of the rapid growth you're seeing in the north end of the county. It's something they need, but 60% of that area actually has a Louisville zip code right now.
Yeah.
And then the balance is Shepherdsville and Brooks. So we're really hoping that letter has gone out. I use my persuasive writing skills to get that out. So hopefully, including one letter that was from Hayden's uncle, actually, when he was on city council in Hillview, which I thought was really pretty neat. So 1994 maybe was when that was.
Yeah, shout out Buddy Hoskinson. He was wanting a shout out. We fit it in. He's now in Frankfurt, and he's a big dog up there, and has worked his way up in his career and been very successful. But yeah, he started as a city councilman for the city of Hillview, and it was really cool to see Buddy Hoskinson on the letterhead.
Yeah.
And that's I'll tell you something I've seen a lot of doing, we do a lot of title work and real estate closings, and a big problem is that a lot of the land records will mistakenly be recorded in the Jefferson County land records.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they'll see the address and see that it's a Louisville address, and they don't have their own zip. And that's just a real life
problem.
Something I never thought about, but they'll be like it can be kind of bad too. Like a mortgage doesn't show released in Bullitt, and like somebody's paid off their mortgage.
Yeah.
And then like we usually find it in Jefferson County, but that can still be a pain and a real problem. And I know one instance I can remember, it scared somebody to death. They were like, I've worked my whole life and I paid my mortgage off, and it's not showing released. And that mortgage company no longer existed. So then we couldn't find the release.
Right,
and
what do you do about that?
They were trying to sell the property, and that was going to be like their retirement cash out. And then it ended up being found in Jefferson County, but it was a real scare. So that really is a big problem.
And Mayor Edens has talked about the tax issue. There's folks that are in Hillview paying Jefferson County taxes.
Wow. It messes with voting too, right?
It does. It causes all kinds of issues. Yeah. So if the United States Postal Service is listening, please give us a zip code.
We recorded a meet and greet with Congressman Guthrie, and that was one of the questions. That was one of the questions.
That is one of the most common questions that I've got out on the campaign trail or going to events is, can we get a zip code in Hillview? So I can't promise it'll get done, but the letter has been sent, and I will stay on them until we get an answer. If I got to go to D.C. and knock on the postmaster's door, we'll do it.
It does need to get done. It is kind of silly the way it's set up.
Yeah. The last thing that I've got legislative-wise, got to attend the Bullitt County Rod and Gun Club in Lebanon Junction. Another great one of our communities in Mayor Dangerfield down there. They had the regional sportsmen all got together for their I believe it's the 3rd district regional meeting. So you had like the Jefferson Gun Club, you had some clay pigeon clubs, quail, Ducks Unlimited, Quails Forever. All these different groups get together and they talk about fundraising. A lot of what they do is benefiting kids in the outdoors, which is something that I grew up. I started hunting probably 10 years old, something like that.
Me too. So do we.
Yeah. And I got into it. I love small game hunting. Dove season's coming up, which is my favorite every year.
Really?
And then when I was playing football,
I've never dove hunted.
Oh, it's fun.
I don't do a lot of. We don't really do.
You have to have a dog for that.
You don't have to have a dog. You can retrieve it. Now, retrieving by yourself.
Do people use dogs?
They
for
sure
it?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, they sure do. So it's a lot of fun. It's I think the my favorite of any hunting that I've done. But
my dad got really into rabbit hunting for a while, so he got some
rabbit
dogs
hunting's
for
cool.
that.
Yeah.
He did that, and then like my dad, he'll get like a hobby, and then he'll feel like he's mastered it, and then he's like moved on to the next.
Yeah,
hobby.
He's really good at hunting and fishing. He's
So he'll go to like a new speed. Like he'll be like, I'm gonna start turkey hunting, and then he'll turkey hunting for like 5-10 years, and he'll be like, I mastered
always
that.
Deer hunt.
Yeah, he always deer hunts.
Well, I tell you, the Rod and Gun Club is awesome, and we love Lebanon Junction.
God's country.
It's beautiful. I got a beautiful picture as I was leaving of the sunset in Lebanon Junction.
Sorry, you said West Point. Weird. No, I'm just kidding.
Another great commit, West Point.
Yeah.
But for anybody listening, the Rod and Gun Club is to me, I believe you attend 3 meetings and you can become a member.
Oh, okay.
They have a fully stocked pond up there. They've got a place you can go shoot, a little range. But it's a great spot in Lebanon Junction that I think a lot of people, forget about or don't know that that's available to them. And so we'd love it. If you're a sportsman, if you're a hunter, a fisher, I'd encourage you to look into that and maybe pop down and see the mayor down there.
Did you say Dangerfield, by the way?
Yeah.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah.
That is
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah,
he really is. He's a legend down there.
Yeah.
I feel like if your name's Dangerfield,
yeah, you have to be a legend.
Yeah.
If your name's Dangerfield.
Yeah, Larry.
Yeah.
He really, I was fortunate to get to work for him as the city attorney, and he's an excellent mayor. And I think he's probably I know Mayor Edens has been there a long time in Hillview, but he's really well liked down there. He does a very good job. And I'd say Larry's got a lot of common sense, which really helps Lebanon Junction. They've got a lot of development coming too. And Larry also, as a career, he was always been in construction. He has his own construction company. So I just think that's really, Lebanon Junction's in a good spot with Dangerfield because he knows, he understands development. And so they've got a good leader there. So shout out Larry, and I always really appreciated working for him. It was a great gig.
Any kin to Rodney?
Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah, he might be when you ask Larry. Yeah.
Does he get a lot of respect? No.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, he sure does. So that's all I've got for the legislative update. So I believe now about time we could call Coach. I guess so. We've got our first guest on the podcast. You want to talk about a little bit how that came out there, Hayden?
Yeah, so excited about this first guest. I'm a Bullitt East graduate, and my wife's a cheerleading coach up there. And I really enjoyed my time there. I got to play basketball there, and we had some success. So I thought it would be cool as we approach football season because I know Bullitt East. I have to say this, and I hate to give UK credit. Bullitt East has an outstanding fan base. I always think for high school sports, they always kind of joke that they're like Kentucky fans. If you're a Bullitt East guy, you're all in. They go to the games. Yeah. They're rowdy. They pack the stadium. When they went to the state, it was incredible at that state game how many more people they had than Mel. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately that game was so close. It really did have effect on that game.
You wouldn't think. You would think that Mel would have more.
Yeah. It was. I'd say Bullitt East had 5 times the people that Mel. I mean, it was crazy. It really was something. They had filled basically the lower one side of Commonwealth Stadium. So we thought that would be really cool to get them on. I felt like that would really, a lot of people in the community would be interested in that. They're coming off 2 really good seasons, the state season, and then I think last year they went 9-3, so they still had another successful year. And they have a young coach, Keegan Kendrick. I believe he's still in his 20s. We'll have to ask him. But he's been wildly successful in his first 2 seasons. He won the state championship his first year.
So was that his first year when he won the state? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get him on here, and I think he'll be a great first guest, and I think a lot of people will like to hear what he has to say.
Let's do it.
All right.
Hello?
Hey, Coach, can you hear us okay? This is Peyton Griffee and Hayden Sweat with the Sweat and Griffee Law Pod.
Hey, guys.
Great to hear from you, Coach. We appreciate you. Taking the time to chat with us. You got a second?
Yeah, I do.
All right, great. Hayden, I'll let you kick it off there, sir.
Yeah, Coach. This is Hayden Sweat. We're excited to get you on here. We'll kind of jump into this. We were reading up on you, and I was just kind of introducing you to the other guys on the pod, and talking about all the success that Bullitt East has had since you've taken over. We were just talking about the big crowd that Bullitt East had at the state championship game, and all the support and just how the program has just really taken off since you've been at the head of it. And I was kind of reading up on you. I know you're a Boyle County guy, right?
Yep.
I got you. So you're used to winning state championships, then, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was at Boyle, played from the seasons of 2009 to 2012, so I was able to win my first 2 years there. Yep.
Awesome. So I know, I don't know. So we're about the same age. I graduated in 2011, and I can still remember maybe one of the biggest games in Bullitt East history, and it was kind of foreshadowing of Bullitt East really kind of being prepared to, kind of taking the next step. I don't know if you remember, I think it was 2005. when Tammy and Boyle County came to Bullitt East. Were you happen to be at that game?
No, but I've got Kenny Thornsberry on staff, and he reminds me of it weekly. So,
yeah,
so I know very much about that game.
That's what I figured. I guess, is that like, how did you kind of hear about Bullitt East, and was it kind of a place that you kind of sought out, or kind of talk about how you got to Bullitt East?
Yeah, so actually I was having this conversation with my kids the other day just about, life is all about connections and people and helping each other out. So my offensive coordinator at Boyle was Chris Mason. And he was my offensive line coach. I graduated with his son, was in his son's wedding. So I've known him my whole life. And after I left Boyle, he spent a couple more years there and then became an assistant principal here at Bullitt East while I was in college. I got my first job at Southwestern High School under Larry French, who was my head coach at Boyle County when I played there. He had moved to Southwestern, so my first job was at Southwestern. And in 2019, Chris Mason had become he had been the head principal for a couple of years, but in 2019 he was the head principal here at Bullitt East, and they were making a staff change and bringing in head coach Ethan Atchley, and Coach Atchley's kind of stipulation to him was he wanted a Boyle County guy to come in and work on the run game. And so I got to know Coach Atchley and hopped on a few phone calls with Chris Mason. I was, single at the time and had the ability to move. And so that just the doors kind of got open those doors. And they gave me, those phone calls and decided to make my way up here as an assistant and was under Coach Atchley for 3 years. My first year as the run game coordinator and offensive line coach. And then by my third year under Coach Atchley, I'd been promoted to the offensive coordinator. So that would have been 2021. And then in 2022, Coach Atchley left, and I was promoted to the head coach.
Well, Coach, this is Peyton Griffee. Coach, we're awfully glad to have you here in the community. What I wanted to talk to you about, so I pride myself and am often poked a little fun at around here. I played one season of football very poorly at Georgetown College. I was about 6 foot, 200 pounds came in as a center, and that went about as well as you can expect. So I wanted to just get your thoughts. How was your time in NAIA ball? I know a lot of people don't know a lot about NAIA, and I played football at Christian Academy 4 years in high school, and then went to Georgetown, and that level of competition is it's stiff. It's a great league. I just wanted to get your thoughts on playing at Lindsey Wilson.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, I think it's when you're in high school, right, and you're not around the college level, I think it's an eye opener for anybody who goes to play small college ball. And what I mean by that is not Division I, right. Whether it's D2, D3, NAIA, because you kind of think, this is the small ball, sure. the inferior level. But what you got to understand is, and they talked about this when we were there, it's something along the line of like 5 to 7% of all high school athletes ever get to play in college.
Wow!
And so you got to think that's that's the dudes. Yeah. If you were a dude in high school, even if you're not, the unbelievably fast or unbelievably big kids that get to play Power 5, FCS, FBS football. If you're playing college ball, you're pretty dang good, and it's all-star teams, from high school. So it was a big eye opener. I played D-line at Lindsey Wilson, and I kind of thought, when I was in high school, I was, third or fourth, biggest lineman on our team at about 225. And I kind of thought it would be kids around my stature, and you find out real quick it's the offensive lines are still averaging 290, 300 plus. They're all 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". They're just maybe a little bit slower and not quite as athletic to play big time ball. But small ball is full of some dudes. We had a running back who had a scout from the Detroit Lions and from the Tennessee Titans just come check him out one day. Like there's some dudes. So it was a great experience. Really enjoyed my time there. Small town of Columbia. It's a lot more personal. Yeah. Get to know your professors and your classmates on a much tighter level. So if that's the experience you're looking for, I think if that's what fits your mold, it's definitely a positive one.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's important that it's awesome that you've got that experience, because I know a lot of the kids will come out of Bullitt East and be in similar programs. I think comes to mind Cam Brogan, and I think he went to a similar level and is, like you said, absolute stud. I know. Yeah. I think Davenport's playing basketball at IUS. I know Egan's a walk-on quarterback at U of L. So, all those guys are absolute studs from that state team, and
right.
They looked fast to me on that field against Mel. So I don't think I wouldn't want to be out there chasing them.
Yeah.
So that's great that you've got that perspective. I think that's important for the program. Talk to me a little bit about this season and kind of the outlook. I know you guys were 9-3 last year, had another successful campaign. Probably you got bounced a little earlier in the playoffs. Obviously, you're not going to be able to make a state run every year in 6A, but tell me about your team. What do you like this year? And give me a little bit of a breakdown on both sides of the ball, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I think we have 6 guys. I tried to count it up the other day, and I could be wrong, off by one on either side of the ball. But 6 guys, offensively and defensively, returning from last year's team. And the big kind of question coming into this year is we lost a good chunk of defensive linemen. We lost our quarterback, and lost a couple guys in the secondary. So coming in this year, we were trying to figure out, obviously quarterback in a spread offense is, a very big deal. But I think the big separator for public schools at this level compared to, the big 3 of Trinity, St. X, Male, and schools of that caliber are consistency in getting linemen. Every school's got some athletic kids in the building who would love to go score touchdowns. So usually finding and replacing skill kids is not, the concern. And we've seen that. We just completed our 7-on-7 year. They got a lot better. We feel like we found some of those key guys to fill some of those receiver and defensive back spots. Got a good linebacker core coming back. Our running back room is coming back. Quarterback is going to be headed up by Cole Cornell this year, who's going to be a junior, who started corner last year for us, and was getting those backer up reps at quarterback. So he's really come along through the 7-on-7 year and gotten used to timing with receivers and his right reads and things like that. So as far as skill guys go, I think we're in a pretty good spot. I'd say we are pretty close to being pretty dang good again, and yet far away. And what I mean by that is we've got a couple spots on the line that are getting worked out. And if we can figure those couple spots out, I really like this team a whole lot.
We got a lineman right here for you, Coach. I got one right
Hayden,
here.
You got any eligibility?
Yeah, Coach, if you need a 6 foot, 200-pound backs not holding up super great, 28 has not been great to my knees, but I can get out there.
We'll take a drive. You got to drive in.
That's right.
And we've got, I'm saying the line's the question mark, but we've got some guys who are stepping in, and there's kind of 3 or 4 guys that are going to answer that question, and if they do, man, I really like our odds this year. I like our kids. They're working really hard. We just got back from camp last weekend. They had a great camp. Certainly identified some things we got to get better at, but overall, if we can iron out a few wrinkles, I like this team a lot.
Coach, tell us a little bit about. Looks like Ballard's first up on the schedule. Have you guys started watching film on them? What they're looking like this year?
Yeah, Ballard is our second scrimmage, but we will treat them like a game. We'll prep for them like we would all year. It's kind of our practice game week. I think it's a great scrimmage for us because they've been in the state semifinals the last couple of years. They've got some speed and athleticism. that we're going to have to play when we get to the district. So it's a great kind of early test to see, certainly where we may or may not get exposed. So I'm excited about that. We have not really traded that film yet just because it is a scrimmage. But our first actual opener is Mercer County in the second year of their bowl. So last year we played Woodford County in that bowl game, and this year we now are going to have the late game of that bowl, and it's going to be Mercer.
Prime time.
Yeah. So 8:00 on a Saturday. I believe it's August 24th. We're just 22 days away from that. So
it's getting close.
It'll be here before we know it. And Mercer, while they're a smaller school, they compete in track state year after year. They've got a lot of athletes, got some good size at line. So I think it'll be a good kind of first test for us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Coach, looking at the schedule, and 6A, and like you said, talking about the lines and, the depth that you got to have and the size that you got to have. I know it's a whole new, that's as high as level as you get in the state of Kentucky, and you're competing against Mel and St. X and Trinity and Ballard, and all that's very important. I was excited. I love the new schedule. I'm a big, I'm a big Louisville football fan. I'm assuming you're a Boyle County guy. So, I was super stoked when Louisville got in the ACC. I'm sure you enjoy SEC football, and then now I think it's awesome that Bullitt East is 6A, and you're getting all these primetime games. When they made that state run, you're hosting Manual, going on the road against Bryan Station, playing Mel in the state championship. I mean, that's what Bullitt East wants, right? Bullitt East wants to play the best.
Yeah, and it's when we first got here, my first year in 2019 with Coach Ashley was our first year moving up to 6A, and then we had that first year, which was actually a really, really good group. I wish we'd had them for a couple years, but that first year, I came in third in the district. Then we had the COVID year, which was, just a pain in the tail for everybody. And then 2021 was the first time we knocked off Fern Creek. And then, 2022 is 2022, and finally got over the male hurdle. And now it's I think the biggest thing is that people on our kids on our team and our coaches and people in the community, finally believe that it's possible, which is a powerful thing, So, and I think our kids believe that. I think when they step on the field, yeah, they see there's usually a size difference when you play some of those big time schools. While we are 6A and our school is growing, I believe we're 5th or 6th from the bottom in terms of numbers. So we get out there and we might not be the biggest, fastest, or strongest, but by God, we're going to try our best to be the most disciplined, do our job. And we think if we do that more times than not, and we just take care of us and do what we got to do, that, we can play with anybody.
Well, and you guys have certainly shown that, and I think the system that you guys have installed has given, Bullitt East the ability to do that. Looking at the schedule too, a couple ones I'm excited about. I just wanted to touch on quickly. I know, so that looks like then the home opener is going to be PRP, and I believe last year it was like 20-7. I think we threw a couple pick sixes or something like that, and probably maybe one that kind of got away. Whenever I was back in high school in 11, we beat PRP to win the 6th region, and I mean, they're kind of the staple of the South End, and I'm just excited to see them roll into Bullitt East at the new stadium. And kind of tell me, are you guys excited to try to get back at PRP and get that first home win?
Yeah, certainly. Since well, for anybody who hasn't been out, we've last year we opened our brand new stadium. All the Bullitt County schools got new stadiums, and we so far, knock on wood, we haven't lost here in the new stadium. So PRP coming down holds a couple places of importance. One, we want to keep that home streak alive, but two, they got us last year. They've got some absolute dudes over there. While they're not maybe in the same conversation as Ballard or Male when it comes to Louisville public schools, they've certainly got some size and talent. And so, we felt like that was one of those games last year where we lost it. And I'm not throwing any shade at them or anything. They outplayed us. But it's hard to overcome 2 pick sixes, and mentally maybe weren't as prepared. that game. So yeah, it's certainly one we're hoping to get back this year.
I'm sure it was tough too with that game last year, Coach. Y'all had won so many games in a row. I'm sure the guys couldn't even remember a time that, you get this human nature to get a little complacent. I'm sure, that can sneak up on anybody. I'll tell you another game that I love that I know is not a 6A game, but going back to Central Stadium, that brings me back to when I was younger. Bullitt East Central was always a dogfight. They played every year. I think that's a fun one. I'm excited to see you guys go down to Central.
Yeah, that's so when we made that schedule last year for the first time, and we had that game on our schedule, I had a lot of Mount Washington people reach out saying they were excited about it, and I was unaware of the old district rivalry. So, a lot of community members have been excited about that one. That's personally, I've kind of got my bucket list of Kentucky high school stadiums I'd love to go to, and Louisville Central it's one of those. So I'm excited to, head up there and take it in. And, everybody's always talking about it's rocking and rolling, and they got the best pork chops you can want. So I'm going to try to grab me one of those and hopefully walk out with a win.
Coach, I'm Mount Washington born and raised and proud to be from Mount Washington. But like I said, I played high school ball at Christian Academy. Do you think we could get a Cal Bullitt East game anytime soon? I would love that.
Maybe, we've got, so the schedule's already done for the next 2 years, but that's always in the realm of possibility.
Coach, now you're the play caller, right? You call the plays?
Yes.
Man, now me and Peyton were joking. We haven't bought the new NCAA football because we're so busy. And I know you got a newborn. We've got a newborn. I knew my wife, I could not be building dynasties, but that's the only time I've ever called plays. And I just can't imagine, the stress of that. Kind of talk a little bit about your system, what it's like to be a play caller. What are you thinking over there? Are you counting runs? Are you counting passes? Kind of what's your style when it comes to the offense this year, and just what you're thinking when you're calling plays?
Yeah. So I was really, played on the defensive side of the ball growing up. And when I first started coaching at Southwestern, really heavily favored, the defensive side, which now looking back, I think was, a positive just to kind of understand that side of the ball. And one of the biggest things, coming here under Coach Ashley, learning offense, getting under his wing, and he taught me a whole heck of a lot about offense. At the end of the day, you're beating those kids out there. You're not trying to call against, I'm not trying to beat Chris Wolf. My kids are trying to beat his kids. And at the end of the day, when we create our offensive system year in and year out, yes, a lot of things look similar, but we usually try to tweak things to match what our kids can best do and exploit, maybe by formations or motions or certain things, maybe some weaknesses we see on an opposing team. So we've got a lot of offense in our system, in that, if you were to kind of throw it all out there, you'd have a big scope of plays and motions and formations and things like that. But we always try to be really good at, what we call our base offense, 3 or 4 run schemes, 3 or 4 quick passes, 3 or 4 drop backs, 3 or 4 screens. And week in and week out, whoever we play, if crap hits the fan, we want to know we can execute our bread and butter stuff at a high level, regardless of who we play, regardless of what front they show us. And then what we do is we might bring in some auxiliary plays that we've practiced throughout the year and package it into that game week. So really, it boils down to when we get into a Sunday and we've watched the film on a team, we kind of see, how they line up to everything. We look for, weaknesses in alignment, or maybe there's a poor tackler, or maybe a linebacker or a defensive lineman who isn't as good, or a corner. And so we will formation which formations are best for those base offensive plays that we want to be able to run whoever we're playing against, and that'll be on our play sheet. And then we'll try to draw some things up. Not a lot. If you do a lot, you're still working with high school kids. If you do a lot, then it'll overwhelm them. But 4 or 5 extra kind of auxiliary things that, based on the team you're playing that week, we might be able to find an advantage in. And usually, we just roll with that. We have our NASCAR package. I think we have the ability to go as fast as anyone can possibly go in the state. With our NASCAR package, it's one formation, and it's word calls, so we can as quickly as I can yell and they can hear and get lined up, we can run a play. So that's certainly always an advantage, and strategically kind of triggering that to either create an advantage or get our kids out of a funk. That's a good tool in our system. And so, it's I'm not, and this might be wrong, but I'm not, kind of you were saying, tracking who's getting the ball the most that game or how many runs. Honestly, it is we've got a game plan of selected plays that we think will work. And when we see certain plays are hitting and others are not, we come back to them and roll. And plays that are weak, we shy away from. But at the end of the day, we got to be good at what we do. And usually that if we can take care of the ball and execute those at a high level, we should have some success.
Coach, we want to be respectful of your time. We would like to know with living here in Mount Washington, any food recommendations or spots that you like in the Louisville region here, predominantly in Bullitt County. Any spots that you really like?
Oh man, my wife and I really like going to Milano's on a date night, and we've started to really like the Gallon Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any post game, like after the win, anywhere you're going locally, or you just go home and go to bed?
Usually go home and go to bed. Like you all said, I got 2 under 2 at home.
Oh wow, I didn't realize you had 2, man. How's that going? You getting any sleep?
We're trying to. It's I had my daughter in 2022 on our opening week on that loss to Spencer County, so I actually missed practice all week that week.
That's why we lost, right? As just not enough rest.
Yeah, we can blame her. Well, and actually, her birthday week was the PRP week last year, so I've lost on her birthday week 2 years ago. So we're calling it the Josie curse, because that's her name.
That's
but hopefully we can get over that this year.
Yeah, I know that had to be stressful whenever, it's funny, like you drop that game to Spencer and then you go on to win a state championship. I know that was your first game as the head coach, right?
Yeah. And it was very lonely. It was, taking over your first game, and we hadn't lost to Spencer County since I've been here. And, Coach Marksberry did a heck of a job, and they threw some new stuff at us that they hadn't shown in 2 or 3 years prior, and they schemed some stuff up and outcoached us, and we didn't adjust very well. So me and my DC both, Kenny Thornsberry both kind of said, that was the greatest lesson, kind of welcome to calling high school football that we could have had, and we learned a lot from it. So it was good, but I can't remember what your original question was. But you had my son, had my second back in March. So fortunately, the timing worked out a little bit better this year, and we've got him into a good sleeping schedule. Going
That's important.
So, yeah, we all know our wives are absolute champions. So she was a big part of that state championship run from my end.
Yeah, and I know, that year too, I just wanted to point something out, that you were the Courier Journal Kentucky Football Coach of the Year. So I don't know, you might be the only coach in history that's won it their first year, and you're off to such a great start. And we're so proud to have you in Mount Washington. Very, very fortunate to have you, and really looking forward to the program that you're building. And like you were saying, talking about the system, and I've heard a lot of good things about, I love some of your quotes in that article talking about how it's important that kids at a young age want to be Chargers, that they're in the system and they're in the culture and they're looking forward to playing for you. And I think that you definitely have already got that off and running, and I already hear dads and young kids talking about going to play for Coach, going to play for Bullitt East. So just congrats on everything you got going, and really looking forward to see where it goes.
Well, man, I appreciate that. it's still, when you think about everything that happened that first year, it's just wild. I mean, really, that's all. It's crazy. That's usually my response to people. It's just crazy to think about. I'm very fortunate that I got to play in the systems I played in. A championship program at Boyle and a championship program at Lindsey Wilson, and anything I know, anything I'm confident in, is coming from copying those guys and the coaches I had. But it's been such a blessing. There are so many, kind of the point you were saying, it takes so much. I love coaching with my assistants. We've gotten really close over the years, and truly, if you come into our coach's office, we're either talking ball or we're cutting up and, talking about our families and being dads and fathers and husbands. And it's just a great group of guys to work with that, I couldn't have any success without them. The kids in Mount Washington are just the best kids to coach. And we talked about that at camp is, we're trying to get the most out of them. But at the end of the day, they're great kids, coming from great families. And truly, we just love this community. And I've come to love this community since I've been here. They've adopted me with open arms, and I'm proud to call myself a member of Bullitt East and Mount Washington. And kind of, as you said, I think one of the things that makes public school programs and high school programs special is, if you've heard a few interviews of mine, I've said this a few times, I think high school football specifically is one of the last great unifiers we have in our country. Pretty much every other sport kind of competes for game times and field time. You'll have games on Tuesdays or Thursdays or Saturday mornings, or Friday nights in the fall are reserved for high school football. And it's set late to where everybody in the community come out. It's the largest extracurricular activity that we have in our schools, and it's just getting those kids excited about that from an early age, being a part of something bigger than themselves, being part of something bigger outside of just their own walls or their family, and understanding they have a place in the community and they can take pride in something as a member of a community and not just an individual. That's such an important part. I think it's what makes it so dang special outside of just playing a game is I truly believe football does that and serves the community at large. When we went on that state run, people in Mount Washington are going to talk about that forever. And how cool is that? I mean, how cool is that? That we were able to be a part of and create an experience that brought people together, whether you're black, white, Republican, Democrat, or whatever. We're all kind of together as Chargers and getting excited for our kids. So it's a special game. I could sit here and talk for an hour about my passion for football and why I think it's such a big thing for community and things like that. But I know y'all don't want to hear all that. So it's special.
Well, we've got give me chills here in the room, Coach. It's I've got to do some pretty cool things in my life, but high school football is something that I still reflect on all the time. And we really appreciate you. We love having you in this community, and we appreciate you taking the time to sit here and talk to us today. Go Chargers.
Absolutely. Anytime you need, fellas. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all.
That went good.
Yeah.
Great. We did it.
It went well.
Everything worked. Tech worked. Coach was great.
He had me about run through a brick wall for him there at the end, man. Get fired up.
Man, you could tell he definitely cares tremendously about his job, and it's his passion.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cheap. I always heard growing up, and it's funny, I really have become this way as a lawyer, but that you've got to love what you do. And when you can tell when somebody loves what they do. I never thought that I would love practicing law. I didn't initially, but it's weird. I think Peyton, who sees me every day, I'm obsessed with practicing law.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And that guy, you can tell, is obsessed with football.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and you can tell he genuinely, and everything I've heard about Coach, he genuinely cares about this community
Yeah, you can tell.
Enjoys being a part of the community. And I think that, like he said, that's really important. And he comes across just so authentic, and glad that was our first guest. I think that was a great one to open the pod with.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Like I said, we'll have to keep our football theme going. I know the Cards look good in the Bahamas, so we'll transition to basketball. I know the media bros are ready for basketball.
The media bros don't like
Eli
it.
said whenever you guys start talking about Louisville football, he's just going to start pulling out those coloring things down there and start coloring.
Well, listen, PK, Coach Kelsey, he's got the boys right down there in the Bahamas. They look good. They 200+ games, so I think they got a good squad this year.
At least did a good job of creating some good headlines. If that's even though that's what it is. But I got one last thing, and then we'll wrap this up. Like, I know we kind of did like a local news, and I don't think we'll talk on this much because there's not a whole lot of information. But really interesting case out of Kentucky. If you're kind of bored and want to read, there was a dentist in the Lexington area. It's actually Eastern Kentucky. It's Prestonburg.
Yeah,
Michael McKinney, who was arrested, his son, M.K. McKinney, and then this other gentleman named Josh Mullins, which I think was like an adoptive son too. It's a sad situation where Amanda Spraden, who was 38, was stabbed to death in June of 2023 in Floyd County in the home that was owned by Dr. McKinney. I believe what's going to come out in this case, it's alleged that his son, M.K. McKinney, who's now 24, and is charged with murder, stabbed her to death. And that was June of 2023, and that the parties weren't arrested. Those three men weren't arrested until just this week or late last week in Prestonburg. And I think what's going to come out is, M.K. McKinney, the dad, and then Josh Mullins, the brother, M.K. McKinney's the son that stabbed her. The doctors, Michael McKinney and Josh Mullins, they're like complicity to murder because they helped clean up the scene. And they even, I think that night, what they're going to say is that they had him drive back to Moorhead. I guess he was a student. And then cleaned up the scene, and then the cops weren't called until like 10 a.m. the next day. But it's just kind of mind-blowing that...
allegedly. No,
allegedly. So,
you guys are the lawyers. You're supposed to say that.
Yeah. There was a couple alleged in there. So, that's something I think we'll try to touch on some with the podcast is some local legal stories that are going on. This one's really interesting. Like Hayden said, really sad situation, it sounds like, and pretty light details right now. I think it's interesting, and maybe I just wasn't tracking it. I had not heard much about this story.
I was about to say, why is people just now getting arrested?
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
So, and I think that's making it almost an even bigger story.
That's a year. That's over a year.
Right. It's been all over social media, TikTok, everything popping up about this case. So that's something we're going to be keeping an eye on, are some of these larger cases that are going on in the Commonwealth, and kind of spotlighting them, give you an update on what we're seeing, and what it's like Hayden said, he's got it down. That's what the prosecutors are sounds like that they're going to bring trial on is those facts right there. So it's going to be really interesting to follow.
Yeah, and I know they mentioned that the reason they say it took a year was because the state forensic lab is so backlogged, but it is a gruesome murder. And I think something that's interesting about Kentucky that we're going to touch on some other cases is, one of the elements here is this gentleman, the dad here is the local dentist in town in Prestonburg, and then, what kind of influence that has. And,
small town.
Yeah, and I think just in Kentucky in particular, we've had some cases like that where people have been murdered, and there's a lot of question about why certain things didn't happen when they happened. So just something to keep an eye out of. Pretty chilling. I thought one last thing I'll say about it, where it looks like the dentist also owned a restaurant in that town. He was arrested at that restaurant eating lunch, and the victim was a host at the restaurant. So I just think, you get in these small towns and it gets kind of quirky. And
I think it's interesting. No true crime podcast on that yet. No,
that's what I was going to say. We're doing content for the true crime moms out there right
but
now.
It's really interesting to me that this is the late breaking of this is really interesting. So we'll try to update the listeners next time something big with that case pops up.
Yeah, I feel like a year. There has to be something.
Something's going on.
There's some shady dealings going on there. I feel like maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely begs the question. So we'll have to keep tabs on that, and we'll keep as I see things like that, I'll keep throwing them out there. Just so that's something to maybe explore if people are into that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's about all I've got for today. Anybody got anything else?
I'm good.
It's a great
It was a good
second
episode.
show.
Yeah.
I'm glad we fit it
First
in. Mr.
guest.
Griffey's getting ready to go to his annual training.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be out the next couple weeks.
What are you doing? Army Reserve, right?
Army
I saw
Reserve, yeah. So we'll be.
What's that? What do you do?
Well, anything they ask me to do. So I've got some legal work coming up. I'm sure we usually qualify on the range, so we have to qualify once a year with the M4 rifle, which is fun. That's a fun shooting course, and doing some things like that, making sure everything's updated and. 2 weeks, so we'll it'll be enjoyable. It's a little tough getting out of the office for that amount of time, but it'll be good. I think it'll be good experience.
We'll have something to talk about in the next podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll talk about all the obstacle courses they made you run.
All the
I'm just picturing you running through obstacle course like a rope, crawling under the ropes. And
I'm hoping no CS chamber, which is like the kind of like the pepper spray thing. I'm hoping we don't do that. I've had enough of that.
Did you take a video of that if y'all do that?
Yeah.
for
real.
It's top secret.
I do have a video from a couple years ago when I first joined the Army of my reaction to coming out of that chamber, and it's a tough watch for me. Everybody else seems to enjoy it, but so we'll see.
Do you do it at Fort Knox? Or?
Yeah, before Knox.
Okay.
It'd be close.
Yeah, I'll be close by.
Yep.
So keep an eye on everything.
Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, see you guys.
See you.